Hello and welcome, friends. I'm Michelle, and in advance, thank you for stopping by. Since this is my first video, I thought I would briefly tell you a little bit about myself before talking about my book reading plans for this year. I live in Arizona with my boyfriend and our 8 rescue cats. Yeah, 8. I'm sure they'll all make an appearance like Spunky did just a moment ago. And so I hope you like cats. You'll probably see quite a few of them. I am a writer, editor, artist, podcaster, and vlogger. I have edited a collection of essays on the influence of James Bond in popular culture and a collection on space horror films. I've co-edited a book on horror literature, and I am currently co-editing a book on the Mummy franchise that will be released next year. Additionally, I have written several essays, so research-oriented reading comes with the territory, but I also love reading for pleasure too. At this point in time, my favorite genres are historical fiction, nonfiction with a focus on history, and mysteries, especially ones set in ancient Egypt by writers such as Nick Drake and Linda S. Robinson. I'm getting distracted by my kitty cat. That's Cecily. For 6 years, I've used Goodreads to track my annual reading challenges, where I averaged approximately 60 books a year. Over the past 4 years, I have tracked books I've read in my creative journal, and I've used such challenges as bingo and A to Z that I regularly incorporated into my reading choices. I would say sometimes I'm a mood reader, and sometimes I'm a bit more regimented to read exactly what I need to read for a writing project. But this year, I decided to go back to tracking on Goodreads. So my Goodreads reading challenge goal that I've set for myself is 60 books to kind of coincide with the average in the past. But I've also noticed that they have this year, and maybe they have in years past, and I didn't see them before, but they also have bonus reading challenges. So I'm going to try and complete those as well. We'll see. With that goal set, I'm also going to complete a 25 for 2025 list. My criterion for this list is that the book has to be from my bookshelf and one that I've not read before. So in addition to Goodreads and my own 25 of 2025, I'm going to be using the 25 Book Club's 2025 Reading Challenge prompts to lead my book choices. While I purchased this physical workbook, it isn't necessary to actually make that purchase. And so in the show notes, I'm going to link the club's prompt list or, guide, which includes a description of each prompt as well as hyperlinks to their Goodreads book list. I found this very helpful, and perhaps you will too. My book choice for each prompt is based on a specific selection process. Like many bibliophiles, I have a large physical book collection. That is only a small portion of it. So I have first picked books from my bookshelf that I haven't read previously. And I'm going to say that probably makes up about half to 2/3 of my reading list. My second priority was to select previously purchased ebooks. I'm going to be honest, I don't read very many ebooks. I prefer physical copies, so I don't even listen to audiobooks. So everything is typically read. If I have read the physical book before, then I did make the decision to only reread a book if it's been more than 5 years since I've read it prior. My third criterion is to check out my selected book from my local library. And as a last resort, I will purchase the book from one of my local booksellers, since there are several used bookstores in my area, or through Bookshop, so that I'm supporting independent booksellers. Before going through my book choices, I would like to note that my Goodreads 60 book goal, my Goodreads specialty challenges, and my 25 of 2025 book list will definitely overlap my choices for the 52 book club prompts. With that in mind, let's get started going through each prompt. Well, I hope you fastened your seatbelts because I have a long list. So let's get started. Prompt number 1 is a pun in the title. I have selected Doggone It, a Chet and Bernie mystery written by Spencer Quinn. I first encountered this book actually through listening to a review on the podcast I Don't Even Own a Television. I love that it was from a doggy POV, and definitely love the mystery and the humor aspects to it. Sadly, I Don't Even Own a Television has gone off the air, and I don't even know if you'd be able to listen to this particular podcast anymore. But I found it hilarious, very humorous, and I'm very excited to get a chance to read the ebook. The second prompt is a character with red hair. So I have selected Sarum by Edward Rutherfurd. It is his debut book. He's written several since Sarum. I think probably about 7 or 8 since this one. He actually has a very specific format. He tells the story of an area, region, city, or country that stretches over thousands of years. I actually started this book, but then as I started looking at doing the 52 book club reading challenge, I did set it aside and figured that I'd restart it this year. And this is one of my 25 of 2025 books. Prompt 3, title starts with the letter M. So I have selected Alan, I'll get it yet, Alan Furst's Mission to Paris. I bought this book a really long time ago with the anticipation that I would read it right then and there, because the setting is in 1930s Paris. It's on the cusp of World War II. It's spy and espionage, all the kind of things that I really liked at that particular time. But I did start it, and like usual, got sidetracked on another book and never returned to it. So this is my year. Prompt number 4 is title starts with the letter N. So for this prompt, I have selected Nefer the Silent, The Stone of Light series, Volume 1 by Christian Jacq. I actually read the first volume of Jacqu's Ramses series, which I found was well written, very entertaining, really did take me back to ancient Egypt. So this is part of his Stone of Light series. It's Volume 1, and it is one of my 25 of 2025. Prompt number 5 is plot that includes a heist. So for this one, I selected, I'm going to try the other side, Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. I actually received this book 1 year while I was covering San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm going in blind. I don't know anything about it other than that it was on the 52 Book Club's Goodreads list. However, I have seen Bennett appear on a lot of book vlogs, so I'm really hoping good things for this one. For prompts 6 through 9, each book is actually selected on the needs that, or on the criteria that they be from different genre, each one. So for prompt 6, the genre needs to be set in the spring. So for that one, I selected The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I don't actually have a copy. It is considered child fiction. I have seen the play, actually, which I enjoyed and thought it was absolutely gorgeous, but I've never read the book. So I figured this is the year I'll rectify that. Prompt number 7 is a genre set in the summer. So for that one, I have selected The Summer Before the War by Helen Simonson. I actually purchased this book in anticipation for research for historical fiction that I started writing for a NaNoWriMo a couple of years ago. So I wasn't expecting to read it right then, but I figured, well, now's the time. This is part of my 25 of 2025. The prompt number 8 is the genre needs to be set in the autumn. So for that one, I have selected Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. It is Gothic, and I've come across this book countless times over the years, and I'm finally going to read it. I actually picked up this copy like a couple of days ago from a used bookseller, so this will be one of my 25 for 2025. So the last prompt in this group is that the book needs to be set during winter. So for that one, I have selected, oh wow, there we go. If Not Winter, Fragments of Sappho. And it's translated by Carson. It is a poetry, and it's an incomplete book. What I mean, there's only fragments of the poetry, but I was recommended this book, or I came across it and it sounded very interesting, so I did purchase it a while back, I think this last year. So I'm making this part of my 25 of 2025. Prompt 10 is the author's last name is also a first name. So for that one, I selected Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. This is a reread. I actually picked this up as a comp copy at San Diego Comic-Con one of the years that I attended and did coverage. I remember really enjoying this book. I do enjoy fantasy. It just, right now, some of other genres take a little higher precedence, but I'd love to get back into reading more fantasy. So I enjoyed it then, and I anticipate I'll enjoy it again on my revisit. So for prompt 11, it needs to be a prequel. So for that one, I picked The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski, translated by Danusia Stok, and I apologize in advance. English is my first language, my only language, so I will occasionally struggle with foreign names as well as English when I get a little tongue-tied. But anyway, this is a reread. I am a Geralt fan for many years, so I cannot wait to revisit the Witcher universe. Stack's getting large. Prompt number 12 is that it has a moon on the cover. So referencing the 52 Book Club's Goodreads list, I picked out The Shadow of Perseus by Claire Heywood. It's kind of in my wheelhouse of interest, that being historical fiction and Greek mythology. So I am looking forward to picking that up, hopefully from my local library at some point this year. Prompt 13 title is 10 letters or less. There's lots out there. For me, I'm going to try Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. It focuses on the Medusa story, and it has really piqued my interest and my curiosity. Images of Medusa from the original Clash of the Titans come to mind for me, so I'm anxious to read her story, according to Haynes. This is also one of my 25 of 2025 list, as well as the Goodreads Epic Quest Challenge that needs to be read by April 30th. Prompt number 14 is climate fiction. So for that one, I've picked a book that's been an interest of mine for several years, probably going back to the 80s when I saw the original miniseries on television starring Kyle MacLachlan, and that is Dune by Frank Herbert. You know, with the recent Dune movies, that really has reinvigorated my interest in the spice world. So I'm anxious to read this. This is part of my 25 of 2025, as well as the Goodreads Buzzy Challenge. So this also needs to be read by April 30th. I've heard this is a bit of a challenging read, so I'm hoping that I can make the Goodreads challenge, but if not, I will try to get this done this year. Okay, prompt number 15. It needs to include Latin American history. So for that one, I'm going actually to my boyfriend's shelf, is Velvet Was the Night by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I'm going to say I thoroughly enjoyed Mexican Gothic so much that I was anxious to revisit her this year. So this is one of 2 books that I'll be reading by her, and this is one of my 25 of 2025. Prompt number 16 is an author who has won an Edgar Award. So I went deep into my bookshelf and picked out A Morbid Taste for Bones. This is a Catfile mystery, book number 1, and it's by Ellis Peters. I collected the entire series while I was living in England, but I'm embarrassed to say this. I never read them. I just collected them. But it definitely hits all of my reading interests, which is a murder mystery set in another time period. It has vibes of Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. So this is going to be one of my 25 of 2025. Prompt number 17 is told in verse. So this is, I'm going to say, a revisit. I started the book, but got sidetracked like I often do. But I'm going to try this year for Beowulf, translated by Seamus Meany. Again, like I said, I started a long time ago, and I'm going to try it again. It's another book that's in verse. I'm not sure how great I am at that, but gonna give it a shot. Book 18 is, or prompt 18 is A Character Who Can Fly. So for that one, I went back to a reread and thought it would be fun to revisit, and that is Charlene Harris's Dead Until Dark. It's a Suki Stackhouse book. It's volume 1. I've read several books in this series, one after the other, pretty like bang, bang, bang. And I probably should have paced myself. So I do remember enjoying reading the first volume as well as the subsequent ones. So I'm looking forward to pacing myself a little bit more this time and getting through the series. But for this prompt, I'm going to read the first book. For prompt 19, it just needs to have some short chapters. So I selected The Lost Village by Camellia Stein. I purchased this book last year because I was intrigued by the blurb on the back of the cover as well as the cover. And this is one of my 25 of 2025. Prompt 20 is a fairy tale retelling. So for that one, I selected Kill the Farm Boy by Delilah S. Dawson and Kevin Hearn. This is another one of the free books that I picked up at San Diego Comic-Con, but I didn't get a chance to read it. So I'm hoping to rectify that this year. I moved a couple years ago, and I'm actually going through a lot of my con loot that I picked up over the years. This is one of those books, and I'm putting it on my 25 of 2025. Prompt number 21 is character's name in the title, but that can include a nickname or the character's title. So for that one, I'm going to read The Right Hand of Amun by Lauren Haney. It's historical fiction set in ancient Egypt. Tick, tick, tick. Yeah, one of my favorites. So I picked up, I believe, most of the books of the series. So this is volume 1, and it is going to be one of my 25 of 2025. Prompt number 22 is a found family trope. So for that one, I have selected Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I've read the Shadow and Bone series as well as watched the first season on Netflix. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well. So I have actually the box set. So I'll definitely read volume 1 this year. And if I have a chance, I'll dive into the second volume of the duology. And this is one of my 25 for 2025. Prompt 23 is a sprayed edge. So that means that the edge of the paper can be either a solid color or a pattern. So I actually found one that's a black edge. So there we go, all the way around. And it is Haunted Castles by Ray Russell. I purchased this book a couple years ago when I was really trying to pick up this series. I like the look of them. I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for books that look very similar to each other. And since I'm into horror lit, this kind of fits within to my interests. I just didn't get around to reading it. So I'm anxious to read this one, and it is one of my 25 for this year. Prompt 24, title is a spoiler. So for that one, I went with Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile. Guess what? A death happened. So I enjoyed the movie, but I've never read the book. And I'm actually thinking, I'm not sure that I've read any Agatha Christie. And as a person that loves murder mystery, I really felt that I needed to have at least one Agatha Christie on my list. And since it's set in Egypt, I figured it's got to be a win-win. And this is one of my 25 of 2025. Prompt number 25 is Breaks the Fourth Wall. So for that one, I went to Italo Calvino, specifically his book, If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. I have read some of his other work. He is an author that I would love to eventually read all of his canon. So I feel this is a step in that direction. And I will definitely reread any of the other stuff that I've read so far. But this is a brand new read for me in 2025. So it's on my 2025, my 25 of 25 list. Prompt 26 is selecting a book that has more than 1 million copies sold. So this is a reread, and it's a different version reread. So for that one, I am going with J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. And this one has been illustrated, but it is the full novel in here. It's been a long time since I read The Hobbit. I honestly think I was a teenager when I first read it. So I'll be using this book as part of the Read It, Watch It bonus challenge in the 52 book club. So I need to finish this by the end of the year because the Read It, Watch It is in the 4th quarter of the year. So I'm looking forward to revisiting this and also enjoying it with the illustrations. For prompt 27, the book needs to feature a magician. So for that one, I went with Magician Apprentice by Raymond E. Feist. I may change my mind here, especially if I can't find my physical copy. But if I do stick with this one, it will be a reread. I do remember enjoying it through my first read, and so I'm hoping that I'll get just as much enjoyment with the second read. So for prompts 28 and 29, the books need to share the same universe. So for those, prompt 28 is a crossover. So for that one, I selected The Last Bookshop in London by Madeline Martin. This is also fits within the Goodreads era Explorer Challenge, and that needs to be read by April 30th. Prompt 29 shares the universe with prompt 28, so that is The Book Lover's Library, also by Madeline Martin. Honestly, I'm going in blind with both of these books, so I'm really hoping that I'm going to enjoy the universe as well as Martin's writing style. For prompt 30, the book needs to be in the public domain, so for that one, I have selected The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. My copy happens to be illustrated by one of my favorite comic book artists, David Peterson, who people might recognize his name for the Mouse Guard series. This is going to fulfill a very long desire of mine to read the book. I remember seeing the animated film when I was living in England many years ago, so I'm really looking forward to finally reading the book. This also fulfills an additional 52 book club challenge, which is Read It, Watch It. So I'll need to complete this bonus by March 31st. And if you didn't guess it, this is one of my 25 of 2025. Prompt 31 is audiobook or book that has multiple narrators. So for that one, I have selected Barbara Kingsolver's The Poisonwood Bible. This is an older book, but one that I enjoyed reading very much. I remember being so impacted by this book and just being in total awe of her writing style and her capability to, I think, carry 4 or 5 different narrative or character voices. So I am actually very anxious to reread this after many, many years. Prompt 32 includes a diary entry. So for that one, I went all the way, baby. I went with Madly Deeply, The Diaries of Alan Rickman by Alan Rickman. I picked a copy of this one at my local Zia Records, which they also carry used books and I believe some new ones as well. This book focuses on his diaries from 1993 to 2015. I've been wanting to read this one since it came out, which I think was either slightly before his death or posthumously. I'm not sure which, but I'm anxious to read it. And obviously this is one of my 25. The next prompt is a standalone novel. So for that one, this is Max. He's one of my big boys, and he wants to jump over there. So let's give him a hug. There you go, bud. Okay. So prompt 33 is a standalone novel, and so for that one, I have selected Tana French's The Witch Elm. I have read the first 3 novels in the the Dublin Murder Squad series, but this novel is a standalone. Eventually, I would like to read all of her novels because I've really enjoyed her writing style. I love how she structures her mysteries, and so therefore it's on my 25 of 2025. Prompt 34 is direction in the title. So for this one, I've selected North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I watched the BBC miniseries starring Richard Armitage, and I'm looking forward to reading the book, which I hope expands even more on the characters and, of course, the social struggles of the time. Prompt 35 is written in third person, so I want to do a reread, actually, of The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This was a tough read. It was very emotional when I read it the first time, but I kind of like to reread it again, and it fit with the prompt. And I think eventually I'd like to read more of his books, so I thought this would be a kickstart into exploring a bit more of McCarthy's writings. Prompt 36 is the final sentence is less than 6 words long, so for that one I'm doing Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. This is a reread. I read this years ago after having watched the 1960s film, and actually I'm anxious to see what more I pick up on my second read through. I might even watch the movie again too. So prompt 37 is genre chosen for you by someone else. So I had my boyfriend pick a genre, and I said, hey, go for gusto, and just go ahead and pick the book as well. So he selected for me Len Carter's A Tower at the Edge of Time. It is the sword and planet genre. And I'm reading this, it's a good choice actually. That even though I'm going in blind, I don't think I've read any Len Carter, and I'd like to rectify that. I'm kind of anticipating that it's going to be a bit dated, but I'd still like to try it. And this is on my 25 of 2025. Prompt 38 is an adventure story, so I have gone with Lord of the Flies by William Golding. This is a reread. I'm anxious actually to identify elements from the book that were incorporated into the television series Lost. I'm going to do a shameless plug here. I'm co-hosting a vlog called Ride the Stream, in which I co-host a weekly discussion about television shows, films, and things like that. My co-host and I are doing Lost, so we are discussing all 121 episodes in weekly installments. Lord of the Flies was an inspiration and an influence for the show, so I definitely want to revisit this one and pick out some things that have influenced specifically the show. Prompt 39 has an epitaph. So for that one, I'm going with I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer, written by Michelle McNamara. This will be either a library or a purchase. Some time ago, I watched a documentary about the Golden State Killer, And I remember Peyton Oswald came on and he was interviewed to discuss the research that his wife at that time, Michelle, had gone through. She has passed away, but I think this will be a fascinating read. I love true crime, so I think this is definitely going to fit my interest, and I'm originally from California, so tick tick. Prompt 40 is a stream of conscious narrative, and I think I'm going to go with The Catcher in the Rye. It has been a really long time since I've read this J.D. Salinger classic, so I can't actually remember any of it. So I might actually even try to annotate this one so I can kind of keep it in the memory bank for a bit longer. But so this is a reread. Prompt 41 is cover font is in a primary color. So for that one, I went with The Labyrinth of Osiris by Paul Sussman. This is a prior purchase ebook. So I bought it a few years ago and then I forgot about it. But the cover font does have yellow and gold, so I figured it ticks the box. It's a murder mystery that's set in part in Egypt. It's kind of an international globe-trotting murder mystery, so I'm ready to give this one a shot. And the fact that it's set in Egypt, which is somewhere that I visited years ago, I'm kind of hoping that I might recognize some of the locales. For prompt 42, there needs to be an antagonist that is non-human, so I went with The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. This novel has often been discussed when studying British invasion literature, which is kind of the forerunner to spy and espionage literature. So I felt like I needed to read this one. I watched the original movie version, the 1950s, but I haven't read the book. So this is part of my 25 of 2025. Prompt 43 explores social class. So for that one, I have selected The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. I love the film, and honestly, I can't wait to read the book. I'm really hoping that I'll be able to find a used copy somewhere, because I would really love to add it to my own collection. Prompt 44 has a celebrity on the cover, so I'm going deep with this one. I have selected Pete Duel, a biography by Paul Green, and it's also through McFarlane Press. Or McFarlane and Company. I just want to give them a plug. I have 3 books published through them, so definitely like to give them the love. I actually remember vaguely watching the television series Alias Smith and Jones when it was broadcast or when it was syndicated on TV. So I know about Pete Duel from the show, but I was really interested in reading more about the person behind the role that probably most people recognize him from. I've had this book for several years, and he's kind of an idol, so I've wanted to read the book but also been afraid to read the book. So this is my year. I'm finally going to read it. So it is one of my 25 of 2025. We're getting through it, folks. So prompt 45 is author releases more than one book a year. I'm going to be honest, I haven't decided on one. I'm kind of leaning towards Harlan Coben because I end up watching a lot of the miniseries shows or movies that are based on his novels. But if you have a recommendation, a Coben book to try, please leave that in the comments. Or if you have any recommendations for this prompt, definitely leave it down in the notes and I'll take a look and maybe I'll end up reading it. Prompt 46 is read it in a Burr month, so that means read it in September, October, November, or December. So for that one, I have selected Malice, Volume 1 of The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. This is an older book that I purchased in the past year or two. Honestly, I was taken by the blurb on the back cover, and it hooked me. And I'm looking forward to reading this as one of my 25 of 2025. I was happy to actually see this on a number of book vlogs, so I don't think I'm going to be wrong in reading that book. I think it'll probably tickle the fantasy genre that I'm looking to get back into. Prompt 47, I think it was blue. So for this one, I am selecting Murder Out of the Blue by Steve Turnbull. This is an ebook that I purchased but did not get around to reading. I think I was attracted to the fact that it is a steampunk mystery and gives homage to Agatha Christie. Love the cover, which had Egyptian iconography, so it kind of ticked a lot of boxes. I'm really hoping it's a good one. I haven't read anything by Turnbull, so I'm fingers crossed it'll turn out to be a good read. Prompt 48 is related to the word puzzle. So for this one, I selected S period by J.J. Abrams and Doug Durst, or I am going to read Murder at the Mena House by Erica Ruth Neubauer. I'm totally intrigued by Brahms' endorsed novel, so if I can get a copy, I'll probably read that one. But if not, I'll probably read Neubauer's book. So we'll see. That's to be determined. Prompt 49 is set in a country with an active volcano. This was a really odd prompt, so I went to the Goodreads list that 52 Book Club has. So for that one, I actually selected A Gentleman in Moscow by Omar Towles. I actually started this one. I put it down to read something else, probably something that I needed to read for research, but I'm looking forward to picking this one back up since I enjoyed the reading style, the characters, the locale. I did spend a couple of weeks in Moscow, so I'm actually looking forward to reading this one. In fact, I stayed in a hotel near to where this is set, so I'm very anxious to get back into this one, and it is one of my 25 of 2025. Prompt 50, needs to be set in the 40s, so for that one, this is a reread. It's The Keep by F. Paul Wilson. I watched the film within the last couple of years, and it's such a chaotic journey. So I want to reread the literary source, especially since Vinegar Syndrome just released a slipcover version that I know I'll be watching in the near future. So I believe this is a reread, but definitely want to revisit it and see what I think of it over the film version. Prompt 51 needs to be 300 to 400 pages long, so I'm revisiting author Sylvia Moreno Garcia on this one, and specifically The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. Like I said, this is my second book of hers on my list, and this is one of my 20 of 2025. Prompt 52 needs to be published in 2025 or this year, and I have no idea what I'm going to read. So again, friends, I could use some recommendations. So if you have something that you think would interest me, kind of fits within the rest of the books that I have on my list, please feel free to put a comment in down below and recommend away, and maybe I'll read your recommendation this year. So I know I took a high-level approach regarding my choices, but over the coming weeks and months, as I finish each book, I'll discuss the plot and provide my review. I'm planning to provide check-ins and go over book hauls, which at this time, since I'm self-employed, will probably be a short stack. But the check-ins and reviews should be pretty regular, probably once a week to every couple of weeks. I hope you've enjoyed my book challenge review, and if you did, please consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. I also invite you to comment with your book recommendations, as I'm trying to broaden my reading choices and part of the motivation why I went back to Goodreads and am using the 52 book club reading prompts this year. I hope you enjoy a good book. Please remember to buy your books locally or through Bookshop, where you can support our independent booksellers. Thanks so much.